What allowed the woman with a flow of blood to be healed? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Mark on Walking Through the Bible.
Of His word, the glory of His cross.
If you have a Bible with you, turn to Mark chapter 5. We're going to be reading from verses 21 to 34. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Mark chapter 5, beginning of verse 21. Now when Jesus had crossed over again by boat to the other side, a great multitude gathered to him, and he was by the sea. And behold, one of the rulers of the synagogue came, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet and begged him earnestly, saying, My little daughter lies at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, that she may be healed, and she will live. So Jesus went with him, and a great multitude followed him and thronged him. Now a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things from many physicians. She had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came behind him in the crowd, and touched his garment. For she said, If only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well. Immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that power had gone out of him, turned around in the crowd and said, Who touched my clothes? But his disciples said to him, You see the multitude thronging you, and you say, Who touched me? And he looked around to see her who had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. The passage we read today was also covered in our study of Matthew, namely in Matthew chapter 8, verses 18 to 26. Mark places this story within the context of Jesus having returned from the region of Decapolis, having cast out the demons known as Legion from the man there. The reason that Jesus returned was that the people were afraid of Jesus after he cast out Legion and allowed him to possess a large number of pigs which drowned themselves in the sea. Before leaving, Jesus left the man from whom he cast out the demons to preach to the people of the region, a task he did well. Having now returned to the west side of the Sea of Galilee, a multitude is gathered to see him as he was by the sea. Like it was with the story of the demon-possessed man, Mark's telling of this story, which is actually two stories rolled into one, is longer than Matthew's and contains more detail, so we're going to have to split it up into 2 episodes. Mark begins by telling us that a ruler of the synagogue, Jairus by name, came to Jesus. Matthew simply tells us that a ruler came to Jesus. He doesn't tell us a ruler of what, nor does he tell us the ruler's name. Although these details may not seem important to us, they were to Mark, who was writing to a Roman audience, who would have likely needed to know that this was a Jew and not a Roman, so this is why he included the name. Mark tells us that the ruler came and fell at Jesus' feet, which is another way of saying that the ruler worshiped Jesus. That Jesus accepted worship is further proof that he is God, for only God is deserving of worship. That a ruler of the synagogue had faith in Jesus should get us to realize that not all of the religious class rejected Jesus, even though a vast majority would. Why did Jairus come to Jesus? Because his daughter was near death, and he wanted Jesus to heal her. Due to this man's faith in the power of Jesus, Jesus agreed to come and heal his daughter. Along the way, a rather peculiar miracle took place. While Jesus was walking, a woman came and touched his garment in order to be healed. Our version says that she had a flow of blood. Others might say it was an issue of blood or a hemorrhage of blood. What this flow of blood was from is not told to us, but she had this condition for 12 years. Mark also relates to us the fact that she had suffered many things at the hands of the doctors while trying to be cured of this disease, and in fact had spent all of her money doing so. Why had she made herself destitute in pursuit of cure? Well, for one, if you were sick, wouldn't you want to be well? Let's not accuse this woman of something we would have done ourselves. But a second reason is that according to Leviticus 15:25, her condition meant that she would be unclean for as long as the flow of blood continued. Being unclean under the law was a major inconvenience, for it meant extra precautions had to be taken, and people had to avoid touching the things that the unclean person touched, lest they too become unclean. The woman thus had 2 very good reasons for wanting to be cured. So knowing that the power of Jesus could have healed her, and having faith that Jesus could heal her simply by her touching the hem of his garment, the woman did just that. Was she healed? Yes, immediately. Was it Jesus' clothing that healed her? No, for many people, I'm sure, touched Jesus' clothing as he was in a throng of people, and they weren't healed. Jesus would later tell this woman that her faith healed her. But before he did that, he first had to find her. Feeling the power had left him, he asked who had touched him. The disciples were incredulous with Jesus' question, for they were in a large multitude. Any number of people could have touched him. The woman, though, was afraid, perhaps because she thought she had stolen Jesus' power, or that he would be angry with her and reverse the healing. And so she came and told Jesus the whole truth. Even though this woman had done nothing wrong, honesty is always the best policy. It's not that Jesus didn't know who touched him, for he is God. He just wanted the woman to admit it, and the crowd to witness his power to perform miracles. Jesus comforted this woman, telling her to go in peace, for her faith had made her whole. We'll conclude this story, the Lord willing, in the next episode. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Mark chapter 5, verses 35 to 44, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.